Hello and welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast. My name is William Hemsworth. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. Well, today we continue on into Matthew chapter 8, and believe it or not, we're already halfway through this chapter of the Gospel of Matthew. We are slowly but surely making our way through this Gospel. And for those that are new to the Daily Bible is a show where we go verse by verse through the whole Bible. We started December 1st with Matthew chapter 1, verse 1. And we're going to continue on through the New Testament. Then we're going to start again in Genesis chapter 1. So no verse will ever be missed. Every verse will be covered because it is the whole counsel of God, and thank God for it. But today we're going to cover Matthew chapter 8, verses 14 and 15, which say, "When Jesus entered Peter's house, he saw his mother-in-law lying in bed with a fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she got up and began to serve him." Now, we often think of Peter as this poor old man who may have roamed the countryside with Jesus, but the fact of the matter is he actually owned a thriving fishing business. They've excavated his house, and it's actually a fairly large house. It's fairly large house for the time. And we see his mother-in-law here, which obviously says that Peter was married. We don't know what happened to his wife. We don't know if his wife was alive at this time or not, because it was customary, even if your wife didn't pass away, the man would take care of his wife's, parents or mom if she were left on her own, because there was no Social Security or pensions back then. But nonetheless, we see Peter taking care of his mom, his mother-in-law. His mother-in-law is living with him. And she's obviously sick. She had a bad fever. And Jesus shows compassion and heals Peter's mother-in-law. And I think the key thing about this verse is that Peter's mother-in-law gives a great example for all of us. It's an example for us to follow. Her response to the healing touch of Jesus was to wait on him, was to serve him immediately. Not when it was convenient, but immediately. So has God ever helped us through a trying time, a dangerous situation, helped us with the sickness, an addiction, etc.? Has he ever done any of those things? If he has, I want to ask you a question. Or have you even asked this question to yourself? How have we expressed our gratitude to him? The fact of the matter is, guys, we're all called to be disciples. We're all called to serve Jesus in some capacity. We're all blessed with certain spiritual gifts. Your gift very well may be different than what my gift is. But all those gifts work together to edify the church. We all have a role to play. Are we being obedient to that spiritual gift that God has given us? God's done a lot for us. Jesus has done a lot for us. How are we showing that gratitude in return? Thank you for joining me on this edition of the Daily Bible Podcast. I thank you for joining me each and every day. I really don't express how grateful I am for all the kind messages and all that good stuff. I really do appreciate it. If there's anything I can answer, any questions, please email me at hopewithin18@gmail.com. You can also send your prayer requests there. And also, if you enjoy the show, please rate it, please share it. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you tomorrow.